Hi, everyone. Welcome to Disability Dialogue and to our very special guest today, Danielle, who is a blind actress, singer, and so much more. I always learn more about her talent and the things she's doing the more I talk to her. And I'm so glad that she's here to talk to us. So I'm going to ask some starter questions to get us started, and then anyone out there that may have any questions, we'll ask that. And then for any of you that missed us, I'll make sure that Dani leaves social media information if she wants to, so that you can reach out to her and talk if you want to, but don't be annoying. All right. Dani, can you tell us a little bit about your disability?
Ooh, the best question. Sorry, I want to make sure I wasn't muted. I am a singer-songwriter and actor. I have been doing this both things forever. I started out in theater and then gradually kind of segued with both things. Like with singing, I fell in love with the studio, and now I'm recording a lot more than I'm performing. I would say like that's where my career is at. I make a lot of music for TV and film. I'm currently working with a company that makes music for cheerleaders, which has been really fun. And I recently had a Care Bears jingle air, so that was really fun. And then acting
Oh my
wise,
gosh, that's so cool.
what was that?
I said that's really cool.
Yeah. And then acting wise, I kind of segued from theater to TV and film. I really fell in love with being on set and doing everything to get things right and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a really fun couple of years because I wasn't acting for a long time, and now I'm back. So yeah.
And how did you get started doing it? Like how did you get started with singing and acting? Like, how did that?
Really luckily for me, there was a theater program in my hometown that decided to start a program for actors with disabilities, for kids with disabilities. And my parents always like heard me singing around the house, and I also like would tell stories and all that cool stuff. So they thought the theater camp was perfect for me. And it was great. I performed in that for a couple of years, and then they gave me some scholarships to the like everyday programs. So I was in the music theater and the acting programs that were not disability related. So that was really cool that they kind of saw something else in me. And then fast forward to after high school, I did my first student film, and I had the most fun ever. Like it was amazing. And then roughly around the same time, I recorded my first original songs, and same thing with the studio. I fell in love with that. So yeah, that's kind of how I got things started. I eventually moved to LA. Mostly ended up doing music because I'm sure we'll get into more of the reasons I wasn't acting later on, but I had initially moved for acting because like if I just wanted to do music, I would have just done Nashville. But yeah, I moved to LA and started recording demos and meeting other producers, and now I have a thriving session career, so it's fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
What would be your dream job?
My dream job would be a role in a Christmas movie. And my character would have some kind of like maybe like big number at the end where I get to sing at the Christmas tree lighting or something like that, like where I get to do both of my passions in the same thing. And I'm like obsessed with all things Christmas, so it would just be the best time in the world.
I love that. And it sounds perfect for Hallmark or
Yeah.
whoever. I think everybody's in the Christmas movie game these days. So I'm sure one day we will definitely see one, and it will be very exciting.
I hope so.
What are the top 5 things you keep in like a rehearsal bag or a performance bag or something you would take to set with you?
when my makeup's not being taken care of, definitely lipstick because I like water a lot. Mints and things because like I just like to stay fresh. Hand sanitizer for the same reason. My inhaler because yay, asthma. And what else? Bug spray wipes because like if I'm filming outside in Florida, definitely gonna need those.
I have never heard of bug spray wipes, but I am looking into them
I
right
hadn't
now.
either until a few years ago, and it was a game changer. I was amazed.
Yeah, because I spend some time in Georgia sometimes,
Woo,
and
yeah.
yeah, I definitely could use some bug spray wipes. That's one of my favorite things about this question is you learn such like interesting things that like people
Mhm.
keep in their bag or like really good tips, and
Yeah.
that's definitely one. So
Yeah. In Florida, I'm like a mosquito buffet. If there's one mosquito in the room, it will go to me. So I have to be prepared.
yeah, yeah. What advice do you have someone who wants to do what you do?
Ooh, I would say, apart from the cliche, like be yourself. Music wise, I would say like really take care of your instrument, like realize that you only get one voice and really be kind to it, be mindful of like what you're putting into your body, what you're doing with your body, just because like it is such a delicate thing. And then on the acting front, I don't know, I'm still kind of I'm still kind of navigating it. I would say like the biggest thing for me that I think really was a catalyst was luckily my husband worked for a video company, and because of my music I already had things, but if you can rent a camera and a decent audio recorder, like record a couple of scenes, like look up on YouTube how angles are shot and stuff like that, but record a couple of scenes that that showcase like what you can do acting wise, and of course take classes first, and then when you figure out your strengths in comedy and drama, make one scene of each. And like what was I gonna say, you can, I mean, you can pay someone on Fiverr to write you a scene or edit something, like pretty good prices, so it's not too hard to do, I don't think.
What's your favorite part you've ever played?
My favorite part ever. Oh, it was actually in a play, although I would have loved to have like a film version of it. It was kind of a PSA about kind of like, I don't know, not exactly don't do drugs things, but it was like put on by a mental health organization. I was in high school and I played this character who got to deal with sexual assault and all these other things. So it was really the first time I had to really challenge myself as an actor. And I learned so much from the coaching I got for that role. And I've met some really cool people through that play. And yeah, I would say that was just the best part. I love roles that challenge what I think I can do and kind of make me surprise myself. So
I agree with that. What is one thing you wouldn't change about yourself?
my determination. Like I thought I would never act again, and here I am because I can't stay away. So I guess that's what I would change. Would not change about myself.
Perfect. All right, I'm opening the floor. Does anyone have any questions for Dani?
Yeah, I have some questions. So, well, you just mentioned the Care Bears thing. I'm curious about, because you said you did you do like a song for that, like a jingle?
Yeah, so I got a set of lyrics and an instrumental, and I put a melody to it, and then I kind of sang it, and I did like a play a what would it be called? Like a place marker voiceover. Like I just put it there because it was in the sheet. I totally expected them to hire someone else, and then they put my voice in it anyway. I was like, oh, cool. So yeah, I it's a commercial where I did both the singing and the voiceover.
That's so cool. So for
Yeah.
stuff like that, do you have like a agent, or do you just audition for stuff like that, or how does that work?
I do have an agent, although the jingle stuff, kind of just knowing where to go on social media. I in a couple of Facebook groups that I've really gotten to know people, and one guy was looking for vocalists for jingles a couple of years ago, and we just really hit it off. He's really liked my work, and I really liked the things he's been able to do for me. So we built that really good relationship. And so whenever something comes along and he needs a singer, he'll hit me up and see if I'm available.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds fun.
It's so much fun.
That's really cool. And then is the cheerleader thing similar where are you writing like cheers for cheerleaders, or what is that?
So like if you ever seen a routine for the cheerleaders, they do a bunch of like dancing to all sorts of different song clips. The songs I make range from like 10 to 30 seconds. So they're basically just like, they're all empowerment stuff, like we're gonna dominate, we're gonna, things like that, but in singing form. So I'll get like a instrumental, and I'll get like, we want this theme, we want these keywords to be thought of when you're writing the song, and we want the song to be this long. And then I will get to work, or they'll be like, I want this many harmonies along with it. So they're pretty specific about what they want. But yeah, that's kind of how that has been working. I'm pretty new to it, but I'm having such a good time because it's all fun, upbeat dance stuff.
Oh, so for that you're basically like writing songs. That's cool. So you get to do like your songwriting kind of, but like
Oh yeah,
within
I've been
parameters. That's
exercising
really
that
cool.
muscle a lot.
Yeah, that's super fun.
Yeah.
And then with your own music, that's more personal. I said this previously, but like I love your voice. I think you're such
Thank
a
you.
wonderful singer, and I love your songs. And I can tell they're definitely more personal, but they're also, can be fun. I don't know. They're just lovely.
Thanks.
Um, yeah, and yeah, and I'm curious for your own music. What's your process like for that? In terms of like lyrics and music and songwriting, like do you start with the lyrics, or do you start with the music, or is it sometimes different depending, and like how does that work for you as a process?
I would say like my strength is in writing music and melodies, and like the lyrics I kind of have to really really kind of beat out of my head. um but usually like a phrase or some kind of like part of a song will pop into my head, usually when I least expected. Like I I have a really hard time just like sitting there and, all right, let's write something. Like it'll always come to me if I'm hiking or in the shower, or something will pop into my head then. So I just kind of have to um be really conscious to keep the note in my head for as long as it takes me to get to my computer, record a memo, that kind of thing. And then I just kind of build around that idea musically. I worry about the words last because, like I said, sometimes I even have to bring on a co-writer because I'm not much of a lyricist, but yeah, there's a lot of times where I get it done. The next single that I'm going to be releasing is the first one I've written completely on my own in quite a while. So it'll be fun.
Ooh, exciting. Do
Yeah.
you know when that's gonna come out? Do you have like a date?
I want to say probably the beginning of the year, because I'm right now like working on Christmas stuff, and then next month I'm shooting music video for that single. So I think I'm gonna just start fresh with stuff at the beginning of the year. I want to say there would be a possibility of it coming out next month, but I just kind of want to give myself more time to like really plan things out, because marketing is also not my not my strong point. So yeah, I think in the beginning of the year, kind of restart my singles again, because I haven't had much time to make stuff, but I'm trying to make more of that time.
Yeah, marketing for music seems so different nowadays. I feel like everybody is looking at TikTok as like the big way to promote music. Or it just seems like social media in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always trying to help my friend out with that because I have a friend who also makes music, and I'm always like, you should try TikTok, but I also know that that can be like stressful. So yeah.
For me, and I do not speak for anyone else, I am speaking for myself. Like I think mostly it's more of me being bad with technology, but just like the visual aspect of everything you have to do is really hard for me. Because I don't know how to, there's a lot of stuff that I just don't know how to do. I know other blind people do. It's just I'm very tech illiterate. Like I tried filming a video the other day, and then it like ended up upside down, and I had to take it down really fast because I was like, no. So it's kind of a struggle for me. So I would say that's and on top of that, the TikTok app is not accessible. So that's fun.
Yeah, definitely
Damn
with
you,
a lot.
China.
Yeah, yeah, with a lot of social media, it's like they really need to work on that because it's definitely, I've noticed that a lot too. And even with like these new apps that are coming out, like I know Instagram just made like their version of Twitter, and like that, everybody was like, this is not accessible.
It's
Like,
not. No.
they didn't like fix it. They didn't seem like prepared. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, so definitely can see, yeah, definitely I've noticed that to myself, which really sucks
Yeah.
because social media is like big in the disabled community, especially when like COVID happened and we couldn't really leave, we were stuck inside, and we still kind of are. I mean, COVID is still a thing, but
Yeah, I
like,
finally got it like a month ago.
oh no.
Oh,
Yeah, I made it
no.
3 years.
Aw. Yeah. So definitely I've noticed that too.
Yeah, and I would say like social media is the reason I've been able to like kind of stay in the game, as much as social media is also unfortunately like where people put their opinions that aren't always the nicest. It's also been where I've been able to build a community. Like I didn't have that behind me the first time I was acting, and now I feel like I've built up the kind of community where I couldn't stop acting anymore if I wanted to, just because I know too many people who are supportive, and and want to make this a better industry and want to like encourage each other. And I know that if I said I was putting acting, a bunch of people now would come to like, wait a minute. So social media has been amazing, and meeting the right people to kind of support each other.
You can't quit acting because you have to go out to dinner with Allison and I and talk about improv classes
Yes.
and projects we're all doing and all of that. So
Yeah, I love improv. It's so fun.
Yeah, I've honestly, like, I wasn't even in connection with like a lot of disabled artists until I met Rachel. And then Rachel connected me with Theater for All, which is a theater program for people with disabilities.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
then that's where I met like a ton of people with disabilities. And like before that, I didn't in real life like know many disabled people, but especially disabled artists. So definitely social media and online and Zoom and everything has been amazing for building community. But to go off of what you have alluded to, I know you said like you did acting and then you quit for a while and focused on music, and now you're back to acting. And yeah, I think we should talk about that and like what that was like for you, what prompted that. And I'm guessing like, you know, inaccessibility or like having to do with disability, but I'm curious for you to talk about what sort of made you take a break from acting and what brought you back.
Yeah, so I think it kind of I grew up sheltered in the sense that my parents really kept a lot of discrimination away from me. Like I said before, I was lucky to have a disabled acting program. I mean, in the 90s, that was, I don't know how heard of that was. And so college was kind of when the real world hit. I was lucky to have a great drama teacher in high school who actually cast me in the plays and stuff. So I was really ignorant to what I was about to face, really getting serious and pursuing acting, because it really wasn't till college that anything kind of happened for me at all. So I had a bad experience in college class. I was discriminated against for the first time, and it really hit me like a ton of bricks. Like that I have been discriminated against because I'm also like a really physically active person. So I like doing sporty things, and just I've been told I'm not welcome at this or that, or oh, you're gonna get hurt, blah blah blah. So I've experienced that trauma before, and it really, really is trauma. I don't know how to convey that to someone who's never been through it, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So I had this discrimination experience in acting class. I actually went to my college's disability center and complained, and they sided with the teacher. But me being me, I was like, well, screw you, I'm going to take the class. And if you fail me, you're going to fail me, but I'm going to learn everything I can learn from this class. Like, I'm going to take what I can from it. But it had consequential effects because the teacher never wanted to work with me. Like, he made it very clear. But just by the way that he talked to me versus other students, and just by the end of each semester, because I took like 3 or 4 of the classes, never got an A, but I just barely passed each one. So by the end, my confidence was just obliterated, and I started choking in audition rooms. And on top of that, I was noticing, like, anytime I would see a blind character, I would look up who the actor was, and the actor wasn't blind. And putting those two things together, or I was just like, I can't do this anymore. My mental health was in the toilet. It takes a lot for me to give up on anything. And that was really the first time I'm like, I don't see a path forward. I Googled for blind actors. I did not see any. So I was just like, it's not going to happen. So I need to work on my music and hope that I become a famous pop star. So maybe then they'll put me in movies. But then the pandemic hit, and which was fine for my music, because at that point I've been like, you know what, I'm not gonna be a famous pop star. That's okay. Actually, that's good, because the stuff that they have to go through is not what I want. So I was working from home and doing a lot of stuff, but of course still I had a lot of time. So I saw a teacher post about acting lessons, and I kind of had in the back of my mind, like, I need to keep the muscle going in case somehow I got a chance, because a couple of years before that there was a show starring a blind character who was roughly in my age range, and of course I didn't even get an audition for that, so I was just like very upset to see that. But anyway, I was like, well, if this audition opportunity ever came, I need to be ready. That, and I just like, acting's fun, and I need something fun to do during this quarantine time. So I went in just hoping to kind of get back to where I was and have some fun. And again, me being me, I can't do things halfway. I mean, at least with singing and acting, like, I fell completely in love again right away, and my teacher like pointed me to some SAG resources, and then the roller coaster just began again. So yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm glad you found your way back. I'm sorry that you went through that, especially with the teacher and with the disability office, siding with them. Man, disability offices can be frustrating. I know I've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
so many stories about
Yeah.
people struggling with their college disability office, and they're like supposed to be there to help you, but it seems like a lot of times they're just not super helpful. So
Yeah,
definitely sympathize with that.
right. And I have,
Was
oh,
there
sorry.
like a head of a theater department, like maybe you could have gone to, or was this teacher the head? Because like I had a similar issue with an English teacher, and I had done really well in all my English classes in college before this teacher, and she blatantly was like, I don't think you're good, like I don't want to pass you. And like I tried everything, and
Mhm.
I emailed the professor I had the 2 years before, because I'd done really well, like I'd won awards for writing I had done in his class, like, and he was like,
Right.
go to the head of the English department and file
Mhm.
a complaint. And so they looked into it, and I ended up being able to pass because they fought for me.
Mhm.
So I wonder if maybe, I mean, you
I
can't,
mean,
there's not like, there's no time machine, if
right.
only, but like, I wonder if that might have been like a reason.
I don't know. This
Maybe
is a
if someone else is listening, maybe they can learn from that.
yeah.
Yeah.
This was a community college, so I think there was him and like one other person. So I don't know who was powerful over who. But I'm not too optimistic that I could have done something. But yeah, at a bigger school, I'm sure that was probably more of a possibility.
Yeah. And I think unfortunately those teachers are out there like everywhere, but thankfully, as because like I have a similar story, like I quit acting and then came back to it much later. And so I think that you have to hold
Oh.
on you have to hold on to like the people that are rooting for you. And
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
hard
see, back
because
then I
you
didn't have
definitely,
that, so it's
yeah,
yeah. Now it's totally different.
yeah, mine's the same way. Because even like even with other people saying you shouldn't act, even the people in my life were like, well, if people are saying that, like maybe it's with a reason. And then then I mean, I like to say I was bitten, and it's a sad case, like to be bitten by that bug, like because the world tells you shouldn't be doing it. But I think that when you're bitten, like you've got it. And like, thankfully, I think for both of us, we found our way back to it. So
yeah, yeah, and it just shows how much community makes a difference, because I've been discriminated against in LA too with in-person classes, and I'm lucky because I know so many disabled people on top of discrimination have to deal with access discrimination. Like, I can climb stairs, I can basically do anything anyway. A lot of people, like wheelchair users, like can't do that, and there's like one of the acting schools I went to doesn't have an elevator, or they're in a really small room or something like that, where even if the teacher was welcoming, like certain people with certain disabilities wouldn't be able to get in. So I acknowledge like it could even be worse, but the fact that I have this community around me now, now I have people to lean on when this kind of thing happens. So it's not like before where it breaks you as much, because now I know like there are people who are rooting for you and want to see cool things. So, and there are good teachers.
Yeah. And you just tell me where to go and I'll go protest. I tell
Yes.
Alex that all the time.
For sure.
Yeah. So, all right. Does anyone have any other questions for Dani? So we fall down a rabbit hole. Although I think this conversation is very useful to anyone with a disability who's trying to do this, because unfortunately, like, acting's hard, and a lot of actors are gonna come across some sort of discrimination, or the world's gonna beat you down. But I feel like we definitely see it a lot more. So if you are feeling this way, know that you're not alone. And I'm sure you can reach out to Dani or me if you just need someone to talk to, and we'll give you a pep talk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, anyone have any next questions for Dani?
Hi, Dani. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'll just quickly say a quick comment about this, but yeah, I definitely understand the issue of being discriminated in academia. I've experienced the same thing, and I have a vision disability. It was very disheartening, and I persevered very much through it. And yeah, can be very, definitely have a lot of trauma from that. I'm not not even gonna shy away from that part. And I'm someone who started out in acting late, and so I'm trying to like find my way through this since I started late. But I was just curious, as a vision disabled actor, like what kind of accommodations that you have found helpful for you on set or on stage. I'm not sure. I think I might have heard a little bit came late in hearing some of your acting experience. So I'm not sure if you did like live theater, or you've mostly just done, like film, TV spots and commercials and things. But anything that you could think of that's really helpful for accommodations. I know, like, I'm trying to kind of create like a sheet, that would be helpful for any like directors or things but I don't really know, because I've not had any experiences yet. So thanks.
Yeah. So I've been really bad about advocating when it comes to that, just because I'm so like, I'm sure other disabled people have dealt with this anxiety where like you don't want to be considered hard, so like you deal with a lot of stuff you shouldn't have to deal with. But I would say things that really help are number one, an accessible script. There are so many audition sites I've gotten that are literally just images, and they're not even clearly written, so the AI that I use can't read them. So that can be frustrating. So plain text is my absolute number one thing. Number two, actually, like, crazily enough, I would say other people have come up with things more than I have. So I was on a set last year where this girl put down a rug in the middle of the room, and she's like, okay, the bed's on this side, the dresser's on this side, and et cetera, et cetera. So I could easily follow the side of the rug with my feet, because we had to wear shoes on set, so I couldn't use marking tape like I normally like. That was really cool when it comes to like navigating around your room or house, because like you're not going to use a cane like in your house if they want to be realistic, like so you have to learn a space really quickly, and which I've gotten really good at doing. For me, this isn't necessarily just because I learn really fast, but I think also some other people might benefit from being able to come in the day before and learn just where everything is. I've had a couple people just offer to do that for me, and that's awesome. I would say the other big thing for me is having someone to meet you outside when you get to set. So a lot of times, like, I don't want to wake my hands. Sorry. So a lot of times, like, I'll take an Uber or Lyft to set, because like I don't want to wake my husband up at 7 a.m. And it just feels nice to know that when I get there, I can text someone to say, hey, I'm here, can we meet outside, so I know exactly where to go. And yeah, but that also goes with, I just have anxiety about going places alone, so that is really important for me to have. I would say that's probably the most important accommodation, is to have someone there to meet me, and just kind of have everybody aware, just so that, like, especially if I'm doing extra work, I'm not like left out of anything. Like, I'm always gonna kind of follow people if they go somewhere, but it's so much nicer to have someone be like, hey, let's go, like, and guide me to where we're supposed to go.
And Dani and I actually, one of our first conversations we met through like a social media site was how you want to accommodate for yourself, but you also, and especially I think, you feel like you're the kind of the first, like with your disability going on a set,
Yes.
and you don't want to come off like a diva. You don't want to ruin it for everyone else.
Mhm.
Like, and that's not the case. Like, you're asking for accessibility, but you have this mindset of like, I want to prove that I can do it.
Mhm.
And so I think, like, yes, you need to advocate for yourself. Yes, you need to ask for your accessibility needs. But I also 100% like understand anyone's fear for that.
Yeah.
Like,
every set I've been on, I've been the first. So it really, the pressure for me is on to be on top of my game, to be really fast at learning, to not be too much trouble, that kind of thing. Because it really, I feel like, and it's not okay. Nobody should base everybody on one person, but people do. So my mindset is to like set the tone for any future. Like, wow, she was really easy to work with, so I have no excuse next time, like, there's a blind character, not to cast a blind actor, because that was a really good experience.
exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really helpful to hear what has worked for others, because I've
Mhm.
never had that experience to be on set. I wouldn't know what kind of accommodations to ask for, or even like you were saying that you learn quickly, like, and I wouldn't know what to do. Like, so
Yeah.
thank you so much.
And Dani, you normally go through a line producer, right? Is that for accommodations on sets?
Or a PA.
A PA, okay. Because my hope is to one day interview someone like that, so that
Mhm.
you can ask questions, you know who to reach out to
Yeah.
when you're getting on a set. Like, I'm sure I mean, I know that I've heard like with blind actors, there's concern with like the cords and the equipment and everything.
Mhm.
So there are people on set that will help you, and you don't need to
Yeah.
worry about that, I think. So
Mhm.
there will definitely be people that you reach out to for any accommodations. And like Dani said, they might think of something that you don't even think about.
Yeah. We're really lucky to be in an age where like there are so many people now are brought up with this idea of diversity and inclusivity. So like I have worked with a couple people who they're just like, I really brainstormed and I researched and I tried to figure out things. So it's really cool to have come back now because people care that much more about like about making it a good experience. So it's really cool that it's this like mutual thing. I want it to be a great experience for them and they want the same. So it's, yeah, I love it.
Now, because of your past experiences with your college teacher or like some of the trauma, when you go into a new space, do you worry that you're gonna run into another teacher that may have that mindset?
It really frustrates me because I would never just sign up for an acting class. And I hate that that's true. I always email them ahead of time because if I'm going to be discriminated against, I just want to know ahead of time. I don't want to be put through that trauma of like showing up to class and being turned away, or like my college teacher sent me home with a letter for someone else to read to me because he was too cowardly to say it to my face. So yeah, I have not, I would be terrified to walk into a new acting class without making sure the teacher's okay with me first. And yeah, that's a frustration for sure.
Because
It shouldn't be that way.
I have similar experiences. Like I don't email them or warn them ahead of time, but definitely like I walk into a room
Mhm.
and maybe not even the teacher. Like I also have concerns about how are the other classmates gonna like want to work with me, or like when I get up to do a scene in improv, I'm like, is anyone gonna come up and join me? Like, do they have hesitation? So even if I am doing well in a program and there are people rooting for me, I think there's always that voice in the
Yeah.
back of your head.
Oh yeah.
So I just want to add
Especially in
that
improv
too
classes
also.
where they like want you to partner up. I'm always like, am I going to be the last one picked? That kind of thing.
Yeah. And think like the first round of classes I did, it never got brought up. Like it was never something discussed. A lot of the fellow students, like I would notice them like low key doing accessibility things for me. Like they might hold a chair for me or they might do this. And then with the next round, the teacher was like, if you need this or you need that, just like come to me. And she like, it was very good to know that. But even, like I said, like she'll say, okay, next two people get up, and I'll get up and walk to the front of the room. And I'm like, is anyone else? And thankfully, like people got to know me and then they would want to work with me. But that little voice in the back of your head is always kind of.
Yeah. And I have to like shout out to my improv teacher because like I'm not in LA as much anymore, and he's like one of the biggest things I miss because his class has just been so basically if you knew me in high school and college and you saw me now, like the fact that I just voluntarily get up and go on stage for a scene is like really a testament to how amazing he is and how just how he's made me feel so welcome. And there are still times I have anxiety where he'll have a certain game we play that's more physical, and he'll again, he's one of those people who will amend things in ways that I didn't even think. So for example, we play tag, and when I'm there, he will actually have us partner up, and one person closes their eyes and the other person has to yell at them where to go. So it's voice tag for everybody. And at the same time as you're like running around, you have to make sure you're listening to the right person. So
that's probably a really good exercise for everybody.
The fact that he did that,
yeah.
like, because of me, on one hand, is like, it just makes me, I love working with him so much. But on the other hand, I'm like, do these people not like that things are different just because I'm here? Like, it does give me the anxiety at the same time. Like, when we play musical chairs, everybody has to say a word when they sit down, so I know which chair is taken. Again, another thing I would never have thought of, and he did. And I'm so grateful for that. But I'm like, you know, I have really bad social anxiety. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, are they okay with this? So I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things that I experienced as a result or of the um, discrimination I experienced at school was that and I've tried to work really hard on this, but that when I ask for accommodations, you know, it is, you know, I am like advocating for myself, and I'm trying to be part of everything, and asking for accommodations is okay. But the school had made me think that asking for accommodations was being a problem, or that I'm taking up too much space, or I am too much space. Like, and so that's something that like I've really had to work on. And so sometimes I try not to bring that into acting, but I've heard other people maybe sometimes struggle with that when they're asking for accommodations on like for performances or on set and stuff like that. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but that's something that I was like, maybe I might, you know, I just want to keep working on that, because I don't know if that's why I was asking about the accommodations for the set, because I don't want to come across, if I am the first person that they will ever worked with a vision disability, I don't want to be like, I want the accommodations to come across as like beneficial for everybody, and and professionally, and I don't want to come across as like too much or taking up too much space or time. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely think like I'm sorry if I'm segueing too much. Yay, ADHD. I think we are so conditioned to be afraid of taking up space. A good example is how I mentioned earlier, how like I have a huge problem with sighted actors playing blind characters, because that takes away opportunities from blind actors, and we already don't get enough. And when I speak about this in blind spaces, which I really don't interact in a lot, I get pushback. And I noticed that in other, like with other things, like they get really mad at you if you're offended by something. And it's very easy for me to like get mad at them. But at the same time, like I know it's because like we've just been conditioned to not be trouble, to not speak out. Like I've noticed that like I have to fake laugh if a joke's not funny, even if it doesn't offend me. Like if it's just not funny, like I have to, you know, because if I don't, then people will be like, oh my gosh, I offended you. I don't ever want to hang out with you again. Like we have this fear of because we're all social creatures, like we all want to fit in, and we have the fear that if we really speak out about something that's not right, or if we like voice something, that we're taking up too much space. So we have to make ourselves smaller to make everyone else comfortable.
Rachel, this is something that I deal with, and like people in my life are always yelling at me about, and I realized I'm here and I'm allowed to take up space, and I'm allowed to take up the whole sidewalk if I need it with both my canes, and I'm allowed to take up space with Nola because she's there to help me. And you know, the last day that I ended classes, like, you know, they were telling me go bigger and go bolder. Well, most people in my life would tell me I am big and bold, but I think I was littling myself down in this classroom space. And so before I go into the next level, I thought I need to work on these things and being bolder and brave. So I will walk down the street now and not just automatically like get out of people's way. And I worked on, for me, making eye contact with people is a big thing that I don't like to do. So I've started doing that, and I've started like being like, I'm here and deal with it. And I think that that's something that a lot of people deal with, but mostly disabled people, because we're told like, don't be a bother, don't be in the way. Like my mom was constantly telling me, step out of the way for this person when I was a kid, and so now Wes is like, you don't need to move. You don't need to go in the grass to let someone walk past you. It's fine. And these are things like I'm having to learn, but I'm sorry that your school like told you that, because I'm going to tell you right now, Rachel, take up space, be loud, be you, do what you need to do. And like, unless you're asking for the entire school to like put you on a bed and fan you and feed you grapes like you're Cleopatra, I don't think you're asking too much. Like,
absolutely.
I can't imagine that you are like, and sometimes I think we have to figure out things as we go. One day in class, like a guy tried to use my cane as a prop, and I didn't really think about it. And the teacher asked me if it was okay, because she was like, don't do that. And then I really had to sit and like think about it, like what's better for me. And I'm like, well, you wouldn't take like a person's prosthetic leg and use it, or you wouldn't, like if Dani was using a white cane in class, you wouldn't take that, because that takes away her accessibility. And even if I'm sitting in a chair for the scene, if we took that improv scene and made it where the boat was on fire, but you're using my cane to drive the boat, you've now taken away my way to be better in this scene. So I think you also like kind of have to learn as you go. But I just want to say to everyone here or anyone listening, take up the space, be you, be loud, be bold. And unless you're, like I said, unless you're asking to be hand-fed grapes and fanned the entire time in class, I don't think you're asking for too much.
Water at exactly 67 degrees.
Exactly.
0.3 Fahrenheit.
Exactly. There's this actress, I'll have to look up her, I think it's Jillian Mercado. She's in a wheelchair, and she was on the L Word New Generation, and she did an interview on a podcast, which I will send out to everybody. She will get called in for an audition. They'll have told her ahead of time that it will be accessible, and she'll get there and it's not. She can't even get in the building. So she will call and make them come outside for her to do the audition. And a lot of people who aren't disabled have said to her, like, you're really being a diva. And the host of this podcast had done like hospitality for celebrities at, I think, like radio stations or something. And she said, no, let me tell you about a diva. There was a famous pop star. She came in and she had just discovered this new kind of puppy that she loved. And she requested that all the puppies be brought in while she was waiting to go on this TV show. And so they brought in these puppies, and she actually, when she left, she stole one of the puppies, and it was the puppy that family was going to keep.
Wow.
So the moral of the story is, that's a diva. You're asking to be given what they said would be there for you. You're asking to be a part of it. You're asking for accommodation. You're asking for what you need to hopefully be what they need. You're not taking up too much space. You're not, you're not causing problems. So just remember, like, you're not, you're.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also, go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you so much. That's really great advice for everyone to hear. But thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, I think also what we're getting at though too is like a lot of ableism can have an effect on mental health, I think is what we're getting at too, because we can like recognize like, yeah, we need to like, obviously asking for accessibility is not asking for too much and stuff like that. But I think too, like what we're getting at is like dealing with ableism can like give you anxiety in the future, or like can cause you to like be nervous about future interactions and things like that. So definitely there's like a mental health aspect of like disability and ableism where like
Absolutely.
it can be
So true.
draining. It can be draining, like
Oh, yes.
existing the way we in the way that we, navigate the world, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's great to have like a space like this where you can come and have these conversations and you realize you're not the only one. Or if Dani did experience something on a set and she came to me and like talked about it, I would hopefully try to give her the best advice that I could, or just knowing that maybe she's not the only one that's had a mean teacher or the only one that's nervous about students in an improv class with her. Like, I think that that's helpful.
Yeah, especially like I know that I had wanted to just participate in class. Like I just wanted to be part of the class activities, and being told that was just asking too much, like you're just trying to take up too much space and be, and make it all about you. And like that.
What was the
can be really-
activity?
I'm sorry?
What was the class activity? I'm just curious.
They were pairing up with like student directors. So actors were pairing up with student directors and working on scenes. And I was not paired up with anyone.
Wow.
And then they would be doing like a couple of class sessions would be working with those student directors. And because I wasn't paired up with anyone, I couldn't be part of anything. And so they just told me to just sit there and watch the scenes and then offer feedback. And it's just, I tried to escalate it, but I didn't get any support from the disability services. They actually sided again, like Dani's story, sided with the faculty. So it's really, when we're talking about how ableism can be harmful to mental health, it's very true. Like the topic of, sometimes a lot of students can experience that, just wanting to simply participate in class activities and maybe just be pushed to the sidelines. I hope I'm making sense. So thanks.
No,
Yeah.
that makes. I was in an art class one time and we had to draw each other, and the girl goes, I don't want to be paired up with someone who's disabled because she's not going to draw me very well. And I was so mad that I was like, well, I don't want to be paired up with a stupid whore. And so we both got kicked out of class that day. But my boyfriend at the time was so proud of me that he took me out to lunch. And so, I mean, yeah, that's rough. I mean, at that point, I think I would have gone to someone and be like, how do I drop this class? Because they clearly aren't going to teach me anything. But that's really disheartening.
Yeah, I think this has so many layers too, because I also think those of us, or not of us, because I've got a long way to go, but people who are further along on their journey of like discovering that it's okay to take space, like we have to have grace for people who aren't there yet. Because I know like a lot of people in the past, like I have very, very bad social anxiety. So I will freeze up in the midst of a lot of conflict. And I've been judged for like not speaking up for myself better, but I just like I get so panicked in the moment that I just like I want to get out of the situation. And so I don't necessarily do the best like disabled person thing. So I think it's important to of course like the messages to take up space, but also like I have compassion for people who like can't easily do that because of our conditioning, like societal conditioning that we've grown up with.
Can we start a program where we just stand up for each other? Like I'll come in and stand up for you, Dani, and then you can stand up for me.
Yeah, and I think
because we're much better at standing up for our friends and people we love than we are for ourselves. So let's just like start a program where we stand up for.
Well, that's so true. And I think like that's where it's really important to like recruit allies, because like Wes, for example, like when he was around, I didn't feel any less comfortable talking about like the inauthentic casting and things that I have a real issue with, because I knew I was still safe. And those are the people whose voices more people listen to, unfortunately. Like my husband does a great job of advocating for that kind of stuff when someone you know, when the need arises. And as much as it sucks that their voices are listened to more, like they are. And so we have to stand up for each other and like encourage our loved ones to do the same too.
I agree 100%. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing with like building friends in class. Like, you know, I mean, my teacher would have 100% had my back, but I had a guy who, I don't know why he did this, but he pushed me in the scene, and I managed to catch myself. But I knew that if anything bad happened in class, I had a huge support group of people that would have stood up for me, or if someone said anything bad or mean to me, like they would have been there for me. So I think also getting to know people and hopefully making friends and showing people like can be incredibly helpful. And that's, you know, something I like to talk about on here. We've had a lot of like non-disabled people that are helping us out in the world, that, you know, send us scripts or do accessible dance classes or what have you. And I think that, you know, it's gonna make things better. So that's a good tip, Dani. Because I mean we were in a room after we did the disability film challenge complaining about how there's no disabled actors, and like I've gotten to the point where if I look up a disabled actor or character and they're not being played by a disabled person, I stop watching that show. Like even if I'm invested, I've given a little leeway to like one, but it's been canceled now, so it's okay. But yeah, like, and so we're sitting in this room and like Dani agrees and Allison agreed, and I think Kat was on our side, but the one girl was like, well, and we were like, okay, well clearly you're not on our team, so you can go home now. Like
I think like her point is good to talk about for a second, because she was saying like this was a show I was talking about earlier where the main character was blind and was cast by a sighted actor. I didn't even get so much as an audition, and they're claiming that they couldn't find anyone. But she was saying, and this is like the same thing with C on Apple TV, which I think is always also canceled. By the way, strike people, I'm not promoting either of these shows. I'm demoting these shows. But the point is, like, she was like, they did hire a blind actress to in the show, and she is making like one scene thing. I actually, like, after I knew the show was canceled, I went on Netflix and fast forwarded through to see all of her scenes because I wanted to support her. But it was hard to find her because she was in so few scenes. I'm like, well, yeah, of course they're gonna everybody's gonna want to do the minimum to look progressive. So yeah, like she, of course they can hire a blind actor to be like the side character or whatever, and just like, see, I don't think any of the main characters were even on the blind spectrum.
No.
Like they had a lot of low vision actors who were like guests, like recurring maybe or whatever, but I don't think any of the main actors were. And one of the producers did an interview, just really ticked me off. They were like, the cool thing is you don't know who in the cast is blind. I'm like, that's not cool at all.
That like we want to know.
Such a huge opportunity for so many people to break into the industry, and it was just squandered. And it's like, I understand why people think, well, hey, that's a good start, but like those of us who have been like trying and trying and trying, and just hitting wall after wall. Like, we're tired of little starts. We want it all. It's time, you know?
Yes.
Hi, Dani. I had another question. I was wondering for your music, did you
Mhm.
also go to a music college and for your music, or was it something that you just already just started on your own? I was just curious if you experienced any difficulty going through music college.
Yeah, so actually, I did for a while, but I'm going for pop music. Why am I learning this classical stuff? Also, all the music theory classes start at 7 a.m. and I'm not getting up for that. So I think I'm good. But accessibility wise, I would say like there are a lot of frustrations with learning sheet music. In high school, when I had to take music theory, I would just basically sit there. Like, it was no use to me. The teacher didn't even make me take the tests or anything. I was just in there. And really, like, Braille sheet music just isn't practical. Like, they tried to send me some, and I'm like, I could never read this and sing it in real time the way you can with vision. Like, it's just I don't know. I'm not going to speak for other blind people. Maybe some people have learned how to figure it out, but for me, I'm just like, give me a recording. I will learn it in 5 minutes. Like, that's so much easier.
Yeah, I had a tutor for my music theory classes,
Mhm.
and that was super helpful for me.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of difficulty getting accommodation for my music classes.
Mhm. Luckily, with music, it's such a learn as you go thing. As I spent more time in studios with producers and stuff, like, I just learned what I needed to know. So I really found college a lot less useful anyway. But of course, like, there are blind people who want to be classical performers. They want to do that kind of stuff. So even though I don't know how to make it better, I hope somebody does kind of figure that out, because everybody deserves access to the same, like, things.
Are there any more questions for Dani?
I was just wondering where if your music was on Apple Music or Spotify. I guess where could I find your stuff?
Yeah, so basically, if you type Danielle Hollabaugh, I don't know how to, but it's yeah, it's everywhere. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all those fun places. My Instagram is Danielle H Music. So, like, if you follow me there, like, I'll always post links when new things come out and that kind of thing. But yeah, it is definitely on all digital platforms. I made sure of that.
I follow it on Apple Music.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much. And I was wondering, are you also part of I really don't know what the acronym stands for, but I hear a lot of people talk about it, which is RAMT. I guess it's like the recording artist of, I really don't know what that stands for, but I was wondering if you were with them and doing any projects with them.
Yes, I believe they're recording artists and musical professionals with disabilities. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but I actually joined pretty close to beginning, I think. I've had a couple of meetings with the founder. I think it was funny because I actually reached out to her. She acts too. And that's kind of the place I really wanted to connect with her, because, to be honest, I have not faced a lot of obstacles with music. So I really haven't sought out community with that kind of thing, because I mean, most people I work for don't even know. So I've not faced, like, I reached out to her and she's like, I'm actually interested in your music, and because she makes EDM music too. So we kind of connected on that more than anything. And then she introduced me to the organization. And I think, yeah, they're doing some really cool things. So I'm really excited for them.
Who are some of your influences?
Some of my inspirations, I would say that's a hard one. I think music wise, definitely singers like Celine Dion, who just have like this perfect, like amazing technique, and she has such purity in her. I would say she would be number one. Acting wise, again, like I've just felt like trailblazer is the wrong word, but I just feel so much like I've kind of been shooting in the dark, kind of navigating these waters alone from the beginning. So I can't honestly say that I have like a specific role model. I know there are a couple actors that came before me. Marilee Talkington, who was on C, which again I'm not promoting. She's she started the Access Acting Academy, and while I don't know her very well, she's always been happy to answer my questions, and she's definitely low vision, like sighted passing low vision. So I still don't think she has the same struggles that like I go through as someone who is almost totally blind. But I think the fact that she's used her success to help other people, I think that's just amazing. And it's so nice to know someone who has succeeded, that I can be like, hey, this thing is going on. What do you think I should do? So I would say that's kind of the closest thing, but overall, yeah, I'm just trying to figure that on my own and with my community and my coaches. Like it's been a interesting experience, and with my agents, I should say my agents too, because they've been great.
Turner Classic Movies recently did a disability film series for Disability Pride Month, and it was really fascinating because they did a movie, like a silent movie about Helen Keller, and then they actually had Helen Keller and all these blind actors in it. And then they talked a lot about how like Charlie Chaplin worked with this deaf actor, like a handful of deaf actors who's in like every single one of like Charlie Chaplin's movies, because it didn't matter. They didn't need to speak. And like the more they went through it, there were a lot more movies with disabled people, like actors and stuff back in the day than we would think that there is. And so I'm really interested to like go back and see some of them. And so if I come across any, I'll definitely let you know. But I did watch the like Helen Keller one, and then there is one with Charlie Chaplin, but that actress isn't blind. The way she would look off into space, he said, a lot of times, and it bothered him on film sets that she would do that. And so he created this like blind character for her. And so they did talk about like the problematic sides to the films, but then like kind of the plus sides. So it's very fascinating. So if I do,
yeah,
I will let you know.
There should totally be like a wiki or something, like with
There
a list of
should.
authentically cast movies, because I can only really think of one that I think is just amazing. I would definitely recommend. I can definitely tell anybody privately. I know like with strike stuff, you're not really supposed to say names of things in a positive way right now, but yeah, I would definitely like to know like what was there that I missed, because I'm sure I'm sure there's been more.
Yeah. Do people ask you if you're inspired by what is his name? Like that blind
Stevie Wonder?
like, There is Stevie Wonder. I didn't think of him. What is it? Andre Bocelli? Is that?
You know
I
what?
can't
If there was any blind
think of
artist
his
that
name. But
would
he sang with
inspire me,
Celine
it would.
Dion.
What was that?
You know that song Celine Dion does? Like,
Yeah,
Let Me
I know
Be-
exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, that
If
guy.
there's-
That guy.
I would no, definitely not. Or yeah, people are more like Stevie Wonder. He's your idol, right? One guy even promised to like introduce him to me. I'm like, okay. But no, if there's one blind artist that would inspire me, which he doesn't. I mean, we're just not the same, but it would be Andre Bocelli because his voice is like butter. I mean, it's unbelievable. But yeah, people all the time. Oh, you're blind. Here's this blind person. You're definitely interested in them, right? I'm like, no. I mean, nothing wrong with them. It's just kind of like, I've just been so lucky in that, like, the way I was raised, I'm just like, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, if nobody's done it before me, I'm going to be the first. Like, I've never been someone to be like, I need someone like me. Acting is really the first time where I needed to see that just because of other people, not because of me. So yeah, with music, I definitely, well, obviously I respect those people's careers and what they do. They're not necessarily like my role models, and it does kind of get annoying that people make that assumption.
Right. Yeah. It's like the whole like, oh, do you know them? Because they're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes. At our secret underground club meeting for only people who are disabled.
Yes.
We all know each other.
Or there was one time somebody was like, there's this blind guy who climbed Mount Everest. You should really look him up. I'm like, okay, cool. If I wanted to climb Mount Everest, I would just do it because I rock climb. I mean, that's not even remotely like close to what that is, but
I saw you ziplining your video where you were ziplining in Costa Rica, and I was very jealous because I've always wanted to go ziplining. But I've definitely heard of places that won't let you because of your disability. So I was very excited for you
Yeah, I've been really lucky so far with that. And I think again, that's because every other part of my body works. So like, I know I don't think I've ever been on a zip line course that has been wheelchair accessible, for example.
Yeah. It's so there was this medical show that I was watching, and it was one of those interesting, like, where I'd gone from one channel and they had authentically cast a disabled person, and then this show didn't. And they had where this character like wasn't doing well, and so he asked this doctor to do like that flight where you're like flying in the air, like I can't zero gravity airplane thing.
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, so I immediately looked it up, like maybe they didn't hire a disabled actor because they don't want disabled people to do it. And there are like hundreds of places where they will accommodate you. There's a place in City Walk like that you and I could go to, and we could do zero gravity.
Oh, I've done that before. The indoor skydiving, the iPhone. Yeah, I've been there before.
So then that like instantly made me more mad at the show. But that is one of the fascinating things is you can look up like
there is an NPR
accommodations
segment,
and
called, it might be Radio Lab. I'll look it up and I'll send it to you. That was a whole segment on disabled people going on the Vomit Comet, which is like the airplane thing that does these parabolic arcs and literally puts you in zero gravity.
Yeah, that's what they were doing on this show. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were meaning like the indoor skydiving with the fans.
No. I was trying to see like maybe the reason they didn't cast a disabled person was because it's frowned upon. And like the arc of the story was like that the older guy ended up like having a heart attack, and it was a good thing the doctor was there, where the disabled guy was fine, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it was also kind of fascinating to see, but yeah, finish your story.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it was all about disabled people who wanted to go into space. They actually took 12 different applicants, and there was a blind group, a group in wheelchairs, and I think another group that I can't remember, but it's really fascinating. I'll look it up and I'll send it to you, because I'm a space nerd, so I was really happy to hear about it.
Yay. Yeah.
But yeah, I know the excuses all too well, or like they'll either cure the disabled character or they'll show a flashback of when they were able-bodied so they can use that as an excuse to use an able-bodied actor.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the one leeway I've given it. Like there's that movie where what's her name has ASL, and it's like the struggles, and so it's like, well, maybe I can give it a pass because you're seeing like abled from like sick, but like still.
Yeah, but I think too many movies do that, like rely on that. Like we don't always need to see why somebody became disabled, and we don't always need to see them cured or whatever. Like, so yeah, doesn't mean we should never see it, but yeah. But and plus body doubles, like you're telling me a body double can like jump off a building, but they can't move or look into the camera for a few minutes to simulate being sighted. Like,
or CGI now, like,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, my husband was saying that like 15, like before I quit acting, he's like, they could just CGI your eyes. Like, why?
Yeah. All right, any last questions, final remarks, conversations, hating on authentically not casting disabled people?
I just wanted to say that I also always got that from people about, oh, yeah, you can do music, Rachel, because Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder and always do music. So yeah, you can do that. And I'm just like, why is everybody always just want to point to those two people for me? It was just echoing back what you were saying.
Sorry.
A friend of mine and I were talking about this. She has a disability, and her school was going to do Wicked. And they were like, oh, her name was Nissa. And they were like, oh, you can play Nessa. Like, you should go on. And she's like, what if I want to be Elphaba?
Exactly.
Like, why do I have to just automatically be put into like, you know? And so I think that's an argument to be made. Like, you know, like sometimes you hear like the Hallmark Christmas movie with Ali Stroker, they came out to say like they didn't write this for a disabled character. They were looking for an actress and they put an actress in there. And
that's
like,
amazing.
That's more what I would like to see.
That's what we need to be headed to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I always was like, I will never play a blind character. And that just stemmed from like my insecurities about disability, which I still deal with a lot. It's not my favorite subject. But now I'm realizing that, because I think that was another layer of it. I was like kind of coming to terms with the fact that I don't pass as sighted, and that was really hard for me. But now that I've been able to kind of just deal with the reality, it's like what I was trying to say is that like I don't just always, I do want to tell disabled centered stories, but I also just want to exist in other stories, just like have plot lines that the blindness is always going to be there, but it doesn't need to be the story every time. It can be sometimes, but not every time.
I agree 100%. Like, I would love to be in like a zombie movie where I like kill zombies with my canes. It'd be awesome. But like,
yes,
you know, if you also want to cast me in like a remake of Romeo and Juliet where like you don't even mention my disability, like I love that too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And just to echo about the space program thing, it is pretty cool that they've been working on trying to figure out how to make accommodations for anyone who with disabilities who want to go to space, and doing all that work as far as like, well, what would it be like, and do those test flights. I don't know too much about it. I think I listened to the same show that you were talking about, but it was pretty fascinating. And I would have never, like, I was always excluded from science classes. Like, I'm terrible at science and math. But it is really fascinating for me to have that as another area of inclusion that
absolutely
to be part of.
Rachel, that's why I stopped being a teacher. I worked at a middle school for a while, and I worked in like, special education, and we had a meeting one day, and there was an 8th grader, and he had very severe dyslexia. And in 8th grade, everyone takes government and econ. I think they do like a half semester thing. And so they needed a parapro to go in and read to him. And they just didn't have enough. And like, I was working as like a sub, like aide, wherever needed. And so the head teacher in my department said, can you find more funds just to pay Kelly for this time to go in and read with this kid in the hallway? That's all they needed me to do, was like read things with him. And they were like, no, just have him not do it. Just don't have him in the class. Like, so they were going to have this kid who, like, was going to miss out on this whole experience of being an 8th grader with his classmates. Because they do like cool things, like they do a night of the notables, and they have, I think those were the classes they went on the trip to the theme park. And so I finally was like, I'll do it for free. Like, I'll go and sit and read with him, because like the frustration that the example of, well, like, we don't want to deal with that, so just don't have him in that class, was so like frustrating to me. That, so I'm sorry that they did that for you with science.
Yeah.
The name of this talk is Make Space for Us, so we can go to space.
Yay.
Space. We're just gonna call it space.
Love it.
Your next song should be about space, Dani.
On it. Totally on it.
My friend who's a stage manager that we just did the talk with last week, and Michaela was in here with me, he works something called the Frey Theater Festival, and I always thought like they picked people to showcase like the best plays around California, and basically you just have to find a space to perform, and he already has a space, so I'm thinking I need to do it, and I will definitely let you know, Dani.
Yay.
But I was thinking about it because one of the shows was like a musical about like a dragon controlling the weather and needing to have an orgasm or something. Like, just like bizarre. And so I was like imagining, like, can Dani and I write a space musical? Like, oh, you're muted.
Yes, absolutely.
I would love to wear a space helmet and sing musical numbers.
Especially since we're like striking and have to make our own stuff anyways, like perfect timing. Let's do it.
Exactly. Are there any SAG strikings happening in Florida?
There's a couple of things in Orlando, but they're all like, let's meet at Disney for like 15 minutes and post a picture of ourselves with signs and then leave.
Yeah, that makes sense. I imagine there's a lot in Atlanta.
There are, yep.
Yeah, but yeah.
But I'll be back in LA in a month, and I hope everything's resolved by then. But if not, I kind of want to go. Like, I want to go on the line. Just
well, let me know. I know Kat is one of the leaders at Paramount. We did an interview with
right.
her, And she said if I went down, like they would accommodate for me. So maybe you and I both can go and
Yes, let's do it.
with our signs. And,
Awesome.
and Allison been going to Disney, or she went a couple times to Disney. So
Nice.
yeah. All right. Any more final questions before we go on a tangent about space musicals?
Stop us, please.
If not, I will just say, Dani, I mean, I think you already said your Instagram, but is there anywhere else that you'd like people to follow you or reach out to you on social media?
Danielle H Music is my username on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even though I'm locked out of my account, but it's still there. So,
I know.
yeah, Instagram is where it's at, is where I kind of focus most of my attention. So yeah, follow me. If you know any disabled actors who need a cheerleader, especially blind actors, like send them my way and I will hype you the heck up because we need to do this. So,
Yes. Thank you so much, Dani.
thank you for having me.